when we started trying to have a baby, I went and got myself my very first baby present. And it was this precious little elephant, Lovey. You know, the kind that have a little stuffed animal head that has a little blanket dangling out from underneath it. And just prayed over that, and I needed something tangible to hold, kind of like my own little baby to love on. Prayed over it, and just to have something to touch and to cry with, because the journey from desiring a child to holding a child was taking a lot longer than what I felt like my promise was. And so in the midst of finding out that I have infertility and grieving and thinking that God had lied to me and failed us, and really feeling like I had failed, a friend of ours got pregnant, and God asked me to give her. God asked me to give her my Lovey, and it meant so much to her on different levels, which meant that I could start healing and I could start moving through some of that grief. God said certain things were going to come, and it wasn't going to unfold the way that I had planned. And I had always wanted to adopt, completely forgot while we were trying to get pregnant. And it was God's plan all along, and it's beautiful. And one day Sam's gonna know that this amazing little duckling that he has completely loved to pieces, his mama prayed over and cried over every day until he came home. It's funny because it wasn't really finding God. Because he was always there. It was me releasing myself and what I had hoped for, that I had to bury what I thought was perfect. And I had to bury the idea of what I thought what my future was. I had to release what I thought joy looked like in order to get true love and true joy and the future that he had designed for me. And he would have let me hold on to all that I thought was perfect. But trading my design of perfect for what I couldn't see, for him to get down and kneel down and grab my face and just ask me to trust him in things that didn't make sense. There's literally no medical reason why we can't conceive a child. And I had to grieve that. And what's so, there's not a right or a wrong way to bring home a baby. But the enemy used what I thought was the way we were going to start our family against me to keep me from seeing God. And he placed fear and doubt and unbelief as such thick walls to keep me from seeing him. And when I traded what I thought was perfect peace and what I thought was perfect joy for what I couldn't see, it allowed God to step in for us to have some really great conversation. And so it was different. It was different. So it wasn't so much as finding God as it was releasing what I thought was perfect for true love. I think finding God's voice in grief is sometimes easier than in joy. At least it has been for me. It's easy to move forward in joy, and in grief, and trying to figure out how to get out of bed, and then trying to figure out how to wait, and to have an agency lose our paperwork, and to not know who we were, and to grieve that, and then to need to pause to start again, and then climbing different places where grief had to be faced. It's easier to find God in grief, and it's such a sucky thing. I mean, golly, stubborn, and it sucks, because why can't I be more tender to where, yes, I see God when, we're skipping through the rose fields, but man, there's not those altar moments. In particular, getting up in the middle of the night and coming downstairs with my husband's baseball bat and getting very upset and needing to be more than vocal that I needed to grieve. And praise the Lord, my husband sleeps really well, because I came downstairs and I beat our couch and I screamed and I cried, and I used up all the energy that I had stored up because I didn't have anywhere else for it to go. And I felt alone, and I felt like no one could see me and no one could understand. And that was a lie, but I couldn't see or touch or feel anything different. And God let me get to the end of all the energy so I could spend it all out. And when I collapsed on my couch, you can believe what you want about what God does, but I collapsed in our room, in our den, and physically that's where I was, but in the supernatural it was in the throne room, and was just met with such love from the Father and the Holy Spirit, and just being ministered to, so that I was strong enough to stand up and keep going, and to keep fighting to get to Sam, and to get to where I was not just a mama waiting, but I was a mama holding. And it wasn't just about holding Sam, but it was remembering that the enemy's a liar at all cost. His game is to steal, kill, and destroy. And he was set out from day one to destroy my faith and to destroy my joy. And that's what he wanted. He wanted my hope. He wanted my joy. He wanted my faith. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. And so I got up and I went to bed and started again. There's nothing like a woman waiting on God's promise. And so Josh and I agreed, and I agreed with Josh that to best guard my heart, that I would not put a drop of paint, furniture, anything in that room until we were matched. And it was wise. It was really wise. And that's not for everybody. Some people can create a nursery, and that brings hope. For me, that would have been the opposite. But that empty room became a sanctuary. One day I was in there praying, singing, just being with the Lord. And Josh was at work, and God just said, she's in her third trimester, it's time. And I was like, nope, she's not called. I checked my phone to make sure that I didn't miss an email or a text message or anything like that. And the Spirit was very clear, it was time. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to, okay. I get to, no, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait until we hear from Karen, our director, because she promised when she was in the 3rd trimester, we would get a phone call. And we wouldn't get a phone call until then. And the Spirit was just very insistent. And so I sketched out what I wanted the room to look like. I felt that was a tippy toe of obedience. And I went and got swatches of what I wanted the paint to be and all of that. And by the time Josh got home, I knew I had to tell him what the Lord had told me, that she was in her 3rd trimester and it was time. And so I went to Josh and was thinking in my head that I'm going to be the craziest person in the world. It's not the first time I've told him the Lord has spoke to me, but you know, I know his heart is to guard my heart and for me not to jump ahead. And so I told the Lord, I was like, well, if this is really you, then the confirmation will be that Josh will give a blessing to move forward, and it won't be Nicole. We have an agreement. So I was like, we'll see what happens. And so Josh comes home, and we're sitting on the couch, and I start sharing with him what God had been telling me that day, and showed him the walls and how I wanted it to be painted and the colors and everything. And he agreed. It was just as simple as could be. Sure, absolutely, you should start painting. I was shocked because that was really the last thing I thought I was going to hear my husband say, because we had an agreement and I didn't have any proof. So I set to get paint and to paint this room, and I'm in the midst of painting, and I've got walls taped off and, you know, painter's tape up to get stripes and this and that. And I get to a point where, you know, I'm talking to God about, you know, this and that, and all of a sudden it hits me that I still haven't heard from her, the director, and she still hasn't called. And so I go, I should call her. Like, clearly you're holding information out on me. And so I go to email her because I think maybe I'll come off a little less crazy. And I'm like, I get stopped. And the Lord said, I didn't tell you she knew. And I didn't give you permission to ask her. And so I painted our baby room with her actually not knowing who our birth parents were, because she hadn't met them yet. And she didn't know until shortly before he was born who he was. And so the whole way that he came to be in contact with, you know, our director was unlike how she normally does adoptions. So we got a phone call, actually I missed a call, that she was holding our son and that I needed to call her. And within 48 hours we are on the road to get our little David Samuel, our beloved asked of God. The best part of Sam's story for my heart is that he is a living, walking, breathing reminder that God keeps his promises. And I love that it's nothing like what I thought it would be, because it's nothing like what the enemy lied to me about. God's version is so much more vibrant and nutrient rich, you know, like the versions that I had hoped for the way that I thought my life was going to look like, the promise that I had knit together for myself, the version of that. It was good. It would have been great. But to lose it and to have it destroyed, the version that I had hoped for that to be destroyed and to come back as what God had planned, it makes it a lot better.